Hi guys, this is gsn1.com and I'm here with the Huawei Honor 7 for a full review. We've already reviewed the Huawei Honor 5X and now we go to the upper mid-range tier and the follow-up of the excellent Huawei Honor 6. This model was launched in July 2015 and is basically sort of like a Huawei Mate S Lite combined with a Huawei Mate S Plus. It's priced at $400 on Amazon, and now let's talk about the design. We're dealing with a metal unibody case and the chassis involves aluminum and magnesium for better heat dissipation, and this model feels like the Huawei Mate S and the Honor 5X combined, but less elegant. It's slightly bulky, it measures 8.5mm in thickness and weighs 157 grams. This means it's 1mm thicker than the Honor 6 and also 27 grams heavier than the predecessor. The diagonal has increased from 5 inches to 5.2 inches and we have some angular edges here, which mean that the phone is not exactly hugely comfy in the user's hand. However, the grip is okay and one-hand usage is also pretty good here. We have a solid build, we have comfy buttons, including an extra one on this side, so regular buttons and extra button here. And if you look at the back, you see at the top and bottom special plastic windows for the antennas. The camera is rather prominent, slightly protruding, and overall premium build and not exactly a very good looking phone, but in the end quite decent for the price tag. Now as far as the hardware goes, we're dealing with a 5.2-inch screen. It's an IPS LCD Full HD display made by Japan Display with an OK bezel size and 1500 to 1 contrast. I'm going to go to the video player here, play this clip and start analyzing the screen. So we have the DTS and the playback speed option available here, and judging the actual experience, the colors are a bit on the cold side, the brightness is mid-level, and this screen has poor contrast in the sun. I mean in full sunlight. The view angles are quite wide, as you can see, pretty wide view angles, typical for an IPS. And then we proceed further to the pixels of the display, which you should be able to see. Okay, so let's see how the pixel setup is here. These are RGB stripe pixels for this display under the microscope, and then we proceeded to the lux meter test and achieved a pretty underwhelming 340 lux units, which is below the predecessor, the Huawei Honor 6, that achieved 399 lux, and at the same time below the Huawei P8 with its 343 lux. Well, at least it beats the Asus Zenfone 2. Obviously, we have special settings for the display, which we can find here, and they include color temperature with a slider from warm to cold and vice versa, font size, brightness and auto rotate. So that's pretty much it. Overall the image looks crisp, but the screen could be better and brighter. Now on the performance side, we are relying here heavily on the octa-core HiSilicon Kirin 935 processor clocked at 2.2 GHz, and it comes with a GPU that's the Mali T624. It's actually the very same CPU as the Huawei Mate S, and it's accompanied by 3 GB of RAM and 16, 32 or 64 GB of storage. There is also a micro SD card slot. That's actually the second SIM slot. We have good performance, I didn't encounter any lag, and if you really want a comparison, we've been testing the Huawei Honor 5X at the same time, and this one has a more fluid interface, slightly more fluid. And we can even run games with high-end graphics like Modern Combat 5 without a problem. This is a pretty intensive title, a shooter with high-end graphics. And if you're wondering about the benchmarks, we also did those. We're pretty much on par with the HTC One A9. We even beat the Huawei Mate S in a few tests. However, the GPU was rather poor according to the benchmark results. Especially in 3D Mark and GFX, we scored below the iPhone 5S and the Huawei P8 Lite, which was a bit underwhelming. So it's not exactly future-proof when it comes to gaming. Okay, time to play Modern Combat 5 and see what the graphics look like on this handset. Speaking of gaming, after playing the game Riptide GP2 for 15 minutes, we achieved a temperature of 35.2 degrees Celsius, so there is no overheating here, and that's always good news. Time for the kick-ass graphics. Here we go. Skipping straight to the gameplay. This is a shooter. I like the lighting effects so far. Squeezing here. Time to kick one of the bad guys. And apparently we just died. Okay, let's go again. This time we made it. That was a pretty gory kill. And then it's time to get the weapon and start mowing down bad guys, who apparently aren't very fond of moving around when being shot at. Throwing a grenade. And just scored a multi-kill. We have destructible objects, the fire looks great. We get to run around, shoot people from behind the cover. I see a guy who dropped his very colorful weapon. It's a golden weapon, that looks pretty nice. Anyway, before we get too much into this game, you saw the graphics are fine, it works just fine, there's no lag and no problem whatsoever. Now it's time to talk about the acoustics. There are no headphones bundled with this model. We apparently have two speakers at the bottom, but only one pair is the real one. Usually it's the right one, this time it's only the left one, which sadly is very easy to cover during games and video because you'll keep your hand like this and you cover it. Anyway, the music player is pretty simple and minimalistic in good Emotion UI tradition, and let's actually listen to some tunes. Okay, so conclusions. I have to say that the volume is quite okay, there's no distortion, the bass is good, clarity is also nice, and we can reach good high notes. We also did a decibel meter test, and let's see what happened there. So we achieved 81.1 decibels, which is exactly the same value as the Huawei Honor 6, Huawei Mate S and the Nexus 6P, so we're doing fine, but this score is below the one of the Huawei P8 Lite. Now it's time to talk about the camera, and if you go to the back you can see a 20 megapixel shooter here with a Sony IMX230 sensor and f2.0 aperture. Also there's a dual tone flash here, and this camera sensor is actually the very same one from the Lenovo Vibe X3 and the Sony Xperia M5. Up front we have a selfie camera with an 8 megapixel resolution and an LED flash right here. Now the camera app doesn't start up very fast, as you can see. However, its focus is quite fast, so let's use this cube. Focusing and refocusing happens pretty fast. Picture taking seems to take a bit longer than I like, although sometimes it's exactly on point. Zoom is quite fluid, and if you've ever seen an Emotion UI interface on a Huawei phone before, you already know the interface of the camera. So these are the main modes: Super Night, All Focus, Time-Lapse, Panorama and Pro Camera, as well as HDR, Slow Motion and Document Readjustment. The core of the setting is here. You can tweak the resolution, 20 megapixels, 15 megapixels or less, perfect selfie, there's image adjustment with some more tweaks, and if you really want to get into the modes, the most interesting one has got to be Pro. That includes settings related to white balance, focus, exposure, shutter, ISO, and probably metering. Okay, those are all the options that matter. And on the right side we got good food for people who like to take appealing shots of their food. We got video, photo, beauty and light painting, and also a series of effects. So those are the options you'll be playing with on this handset, and now it's time to go to the gallery and have a look at our usual huge gallery of photos. 136 of them, and we start off with a very sunny day when we took some great close-ups of flowers. As you can see, we registered some realistic colors and lots of details. You can zoom into any of these shots and you'll see that there's no detail loss. It's a 20 megapixel camera after all, and this means a lot of pixels. We did a panorama that's wide and very detailed, and we played with the focus quite nicely. This is the panorama, very detailed and very nice, although some areas are burned by the sun, however not very badly. A bit more flower close-ups, and we even played with the all focus feature, so we can focus on the flowers or on the leaves, whichever we prefer. Everything has a nice texture here, including this bottle themed Angry Birds juice. So notice the texture, the vivid colors, and the very nice shots. Okay, time for the selfies. I felt that the skin was a bit too artificial. I was very happy with the way the skin looked on the Huawei Honor 5X. Not so happy here, even though we also have a flash, which should be an improvement. I have to say that the clarity of the selfies is quite okay, and other than the fact they feel a bit burnt and too artificial, I'm happy with their quality. Some more excellent shots of flowers, excellent exposure, white balance and clarity and focus, both in the distance and close up. And at some point we got to a group of ants, a huge group of ants, and I actually saw some details that the naked eye cannot see. So once again, thanks to the huge resolution of the camera, we get to take some excellent shots. Some burnt leaves happened here and there, it's true. Some burnt shots are inevitable on a very sunny day, but I'm happy with that. Okay, more shots, and then we got to the good food part. I have to say, I would be tempted to say they are great. However, I remember the very same ice cream shots taken with the Huawei Honor 6S Plus or 6 Plus, whatever it was called. They were better than this. I actually remember that it was the very same ice cream, so if you go back to the review of the Huawei Honor 6 Plus, those ice cream shots are better, so I expected a bit more from the good food mode. Now in the low light capture mode, there's a bit of graininess happen here. The clarity is quite okay, the colors are good, especially when the flash is on. There's some mist happening and the street light halos are a bit too big for my preference, but overall the shots with the flash on are quite good. When it comes to low light capture, the Huawei Honor 7 is placed below the Nexus 6P, the LG Nexus 5X and the Huawei Mate 8, that's a champion of low light capture. And this is a good close-up at night, but once again when the flash is off, things are pretty grainy, as you can see for yourself. We have a big gallery, you'll see all of it in the text review. Overall, I put this camera on par with one of the Lenovo Vibe X3 and slightly above the Sony Xperia M5. After all, they share the same camera from what I understood. Now, video capture happens in MP4 format in Full HD resolution. There's no 4K, with a 19 megapixel bitrate and 30 frames per second. And we start off with this video here. I noticed that we have an excellent microphone. All the surrounding environment was captured perfectly. The children running around, the wind, the police sirens, basically everything was nice. However, I found it hard to focus a bit, and there's quite a big detail loss when zooming in. We also have a nice slow motion video of someone blowing off petals of a flower. Okay, even though the quality is a bit underwhelming, because it's an HD video or even less than that. And we did a spectacular clip of a bunch of ants running around. It's true, we refocused a lot, but we had to get all the details well. And refocusing here happened reasonably fast, so at least that was good. While in the other clips, some focus loss was registered. I also have to mention that one of the videos I took with this camera was taken in the exact same spot where I tested the Samsung Galaxy S5, and this phone films less impressive than that one. These are the exact same areas filmed with that model, and the video capture is underwhelming compared to the S5. However, I was shocked to see that during the night, in low light conditions, the video capture was actually quite good, pretty good, even I would say very good. Once again, the microphone is great, clarity and color are quite good, and a lot of other flagships and handsets are beaten by the quality of the low light capture. There's a bit of wind, but the microphone faced it like a champ. Okay, so that's it about the camera. We were generally happy with it, plus or minus some aspects of the video capture. Now it's time to talk about the web browser. And as you can see, we load gsnon.com from scratch. Let's access an article, see how fast that happens. Not exactly a fast browser, as you can see, and it achieves mid-level benchmarks like the ones from Velamo, BrowserMark and SunSpider, which you'll find out in the text review. We got a comfy virtual keyboard here, which actually took a while to load up, so that's strange. Although I said before that there's no lag here, apparently loading up the keyboard takes a bit. Now, if you go to the connectivity section, we're dealing here with dual SIM phone with LTE category 6 support, Wi-Fi A, B, G and AC dual band, Bluetooth 4.1, GPS and GLONASS, and there's also FM radio, NFC and micro USB 2.0 in case you were wondering. This is not USB Type C. And as far as the phone calling goes, we got loud and clear calls, a great microphone and good signal. We tested the Wi-Fi speed. Download reached 23.9 mega per second and upload 26 mega per second. Time to talk about the battery, and let's go to the screenshots. And you have to know this is a 3100 mAh lithium polymer unit with fast charging, and the Huawei promises here about 2.5 days of medium usage, and with heavier usage 1.2 days. With a 5-minute charge you can reach about 1 hour of calling. Now, during our video playback test, continuous HD video playback, we got to 7 hours and 35 minutes, which is just okay, not exactly impressive. For example, it scored below the Huawei Honor 4X, HTC One A9 and even the entry-level phone Sony Xperia E4G, so not exactly very impressive, just okay. PC Mark offered us 5 hours and 48 minutes. It's about on the same level as the Asus Zenfone 2 and Sony Xperia Z5, but it's below the Coolpad Modena, which is an entry-level phone, so this is quite underwhelming. Now, as far as the charging goes, the Huawei Honor 7 required 1 hour and 55 minutes, which is okay. Anything that's below 2 hours makes a user happy. Now, if you go into the settings area, we obviously have some power saving features like power monitoring and the 3 main modes, performance, smart and ultra, and each of them adjusts CPU usage and network usage. We also have options related to Wi-Fi usage during the sleep mode. And that's pretty much it as far as the battery goes. Some aspects didn't impress us one bit. Time to talk about the OS, UI and apps, and let's see what we're dealing with here. So we're running on Android 5.0.2, which is quite old, with Emotion UI 3.1 on top. And this interface feels a bit like HTC Sense because there's a lot of gray. It's a more serious and abstract interface with a very nice moving and abstract background that you can see switching as we move from home screen to home screen. The very same theme of abstract and moving triangles is applied on the lock screen and on the home screen, as I said. It's a very nice 3D effect, and the minimalism is much more present than the Huawei Honor 5X. Multitasking is still done with 4 thumbnails, and you can close apps by swiping up. And if you pinch the screen, you'll see the tweaks related to the screens. We got wallpapers, we got some very good looking widgets, some of them with 3D effects, transitions, and more settings like layout, home screen loop, and more. Now, speaking of lock screen, here we are. Let's go again. We have these options related to media playback and 4 shortcuts for apps. In the drop-down portion, we have a timeline of notifications and the quick settings that are typical for any Android phone. In the settings area, you can find a lot of stuff. We have the home screen style, which can be set to simple. We got the sound settings, screen lock and passwords, do not disturb, notification manager, fingerprint ID. We also have voice wake up, so you can call for your phone and it will answer you. Then we have a smart key, which is this button here. I told you before, there's an extra physical button here. You can associate to it several features like voice recording, torch or screenshot, or opening certain apps with a single press, double press, or pressing and holding it. So once again, an extra button here. Then we have motion control. You can flip to mute, tilt, shake, use your knuckles to take a screenshot or draw a region to capture like this on the screen. This gesture may feel familiar, but only if activated. And then one hand UI is available, as well as the nav bar settings. And now we go back to the fingerprint scanner to see what that is about. So fingerprint management, and we protect it via a pin. And then we set it to unlock the screen. We have already registered our fingerprint, and guess what? You can unlock the screen by keeping your finger at any angle, so regular angle. Screen is unlocked. Now let's try it reversed. Screen is unlocked, and let's try it at 90 degrees. Screen is unlocked, and let's try it again. Here we go for the non-believers. So any angle, it's recognized, it's fast, and the setup is also fast, so that's quite nice. Now as far as the pre-installed apps go, there's a bit of bloatware here. We counted them, there are 54 pre-installed apps. Now I have to mention the themes because there's a lot of customization here. It has to do with lock screen, unlock animation, lock screen again, home screen customization, icons, and other things like that. And then we obviously have the Google Suite. Then we got the phone manager, possibly the most useful app on board. We have a set of tools, including a mirror, a torch, and a recorder, as well as the SIM toolkit. There's HiCare, there are the social networking apps, and even a bunch of games. Overall, a bit of bloatware is happening here. Time for the verdict, folks. This is the Huawei Honor 7. It's the upper tier mid-ranger, and on the pro side, we got good performance. There's no lag, it can run any game pretty much okay, and it has pretty okay acoustics, good picture quality, and especially the close-ups looked fine on this handset, and it films quite good at night in low light conditions. Surprisingly, has excellent microphone and a very nice user interface if you like abstract user interfaces. Now on the cons list, it's a bulky phone. It has underwhelming brightness, video capture could be better, and the GPU is not very future-proof, and also the video capture during the day could be slightly better, and the battery didn't impress me. Now the Android on board is a bit old, Android 5.0.2, and we also have bloatware. So overall, the correct price would be rather $300, not $400, but once it drops, it becomes a very solid choice. For example, the LG Nexus 5X is a better alternative for less money if you want an alternative for this $400 phone. You will remain with these impressions: great microphone, great nighttime video and close-ups, good performance, and it sounds like a concert phone if you think about it. It has good microphones and good nighttime video, so in my book it's a concert phone for youngsters who also like to do a bit of gaming. This is it from gsm.com, and we can consider this a handset for youngsters willing to pay $400 on the Huawei Honor 7. Bye bye!